Lesson number 31, solve multiplication comparison problems. Some problems can be solved by comparing the numbers, and sometimes these amounts are multiples of one another. And remember that division is the inverse of multiplication. So you can look at problems as multiplication comparisons, or if there's the opposite, as division comparisons. So let's look at some examples of these multiplication comparisons. It says Sarah and each of her three roommates pay $800 for rent. Which equation would you use to solve the problem? Okay, well, we got Sarah and each of her three roommates. So that gives me four people. And how much do they pay? Well, they each pay $800. Okay, so we've got Sarah and her three roommates, that's four, times, because each is a key word telling us multiplication, each pay $800. So $800. So how do we figure out the rent? Well, the rent would be R equals 4 times 800. Another example, it says 3 times as many people voted for class president compared to those who voted for the class secretary. 75 people voted for the class president. How many people voted for the class secretary? All right, so we've got 75 people voted for class president, and it says 3 times as many people voted for class president compared to voted for class secretary. So we're going to say 3 voted for secretary, 3S. Okay. So what are we going to do? Well, all we have to do, because again, remember, we want to isolate the variable. So I have 75 equals 3S. I want to get rid of that 3 because I want to get S by itself. So I'm going to divide that by 3. And remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you do the same thing to the other side. So if I divided the right side by 3, I'm going to divide the left side by 3 also. So what do I get? Well, I've got S by itself, and then I've got 75 divided by 3, which is 25. So how many people voted for class secretary? The answer would be 25. One last example. It says Jan ate 4 grapes. George ate 5 times as many grapes as Jan. How many grapes did George eat? Well, very straightforward. So if Jan ate 4 grapes and George ate 5 times as many grapes, well, that would just be 4 times 5. And 4 times 5 gives me 20. So George ate 20 grapes.